What is good, YouTube? As always, my name is Kevin, or Kevster, whatever floats your boat, and welcome back to Modern Warfare 2, the beta. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to get the best possible FPS you could possibly get with your settings, well, with my settings anyway, and also some extra saucy tips I get with the game files. So, first things first, let's go to settings. Pretty simple enough. We're going to go to graphics, and we're going to go to display. You want to make sure for your refresh rate, it matches your monitor refresh rate, obviously. You don't want to be on 68 hertz or whatever with a 144 hertz monitor. You want to make sure dynamic resolution is off, aspect ratio is automatic, VSync and VSync menus is completely off. This, depending on the type of monitor you have, it'll cause a delay between your controller or your mouse and keyboard with the game. So you want to make sure these are off. Alright, now moving on to the custom frame rate limit, you want to make sure you have it on custom. You also want to make sure, very important here, it's going to match your hertz, or your monitor hertz or whatever refresh rate. You also want to make sure menu and out of focus custom frame rate limit is set to 60 and 30. Now you can have it to whatever you want, but you're more likely going to get a chance of getting the dev error in the main menu if you have it higher than 60. So it's better to have it at 60. Same thing with when you're out of focus or when you tab out of the game, you want to make sure you have it at 30. It uses less of your processor during your whatever your game is running. It uses less of the power. So that's that. Moving on to gamma display. This is all personal preference, like brightness, focus mode, and all that. I play on 51% or 50. Usually play on 51 brightness. It's not much of a difference between the two. It's just I've always run this. But that's basically it for the display section of the video here. Moving on to the quality section of this video, I'm mostly, as you can see here, I'm going to run all these settings on low. That's because I favor my FPS. Now, you could also get good quality while also getting good FPS. I'm going to show you guys just exactly how to do that. So first off, render resolution, you want to make sure there's the same resolution as your monitor. When you set it to 100, this should put it at the same resolution. Obviously, people that like to play on 1440p or whatever, you guys can raise it or whatever the hell it is. But for me, I like to stay at 100. I don't really mind. I can see perfectly well, honestly. All right, so for Nvidia Dlss, you want to make sure you have that off, as well as Nvidia image scaling. You want to make sure that's off, as well as AMD. Unless you have an AMD driver, you want to make sure you have it off. Now, for Fidelity CAS or CAS, I have it on. Now, a lot of the pro players actually have it on as well, and they keep it on between 50 to 60%. This basically gives you more of a, I guess, sharper look around edges, and it basically ups the quality image of what you're looking at. So even though you're running low settings, it's still going to look pretty well. So moving down, anti-aliasing. Now, this is really huge on FPS usage. If you put it to Filmic SMAA to T2X or whatever, you're going to lose about maybe 15% of FPS, like 50%. You're going to use 15% or whatever, 15 FPS. You're going to lose it. But you move it down to SMA to T2X or whatever, you're going to gain that 50% back, and it's going to be less strain on your computer. So that's what I use. Nearby level of detail, this is personal preference. I don't really see much of a difference in terms of FPS between the two, but I have mine on low for just the hell of it. Texture resolution, now this is very important. Obviously, if I raise it to ultra, it's going to raise my Modern Warfare thing to at least 4500, but if I have it set to all the way low, it brings it down to 1959. So I have it on low. It does mess with your FPS. Texture filter anisotropic low. Particle quality, now this doesn't really matter. You can actually have it high. It doesn't make much of a difference at all to your FPS. Bullet impact and sprays, that should be off, because when you're shooting at things and the bullets are going through the wall, or your blood and gore and all that in the game, it does ruin the FPS. It does make it lower. Now this is, again, this guide is for pure FPS. Okay, this is like the top FPS you want to get, and this is basically the guide for it. So shader quality low, shader optimization. I actually doing your shaders or whatever you want to restart that. I recommend you restart that at least once a week, so it redoes your shaders and it optimizes the game for you every week or so. But it really isn't that much important. Tessellation is off. On-demand texture streaming is off. You guys could turn it on, but if you guys notice you guys are getting packet loss, obviously turn that back off. Streaming quality, this doesn't really matter. I see people have it on normal or low, but it does raise your VRAM usage, so just be wary of that. I have mine on low though. Shadow map resolution very low. Spot shadow quality low. Cache spot shadows and sun shadows, I actually have this to on. Now this does improve your FPS as it's using less of the, I guess, the game's actual processing for the shadows. Is just using the cache spots, so it boosts your FPS. Particle lighting, this does matter, obviously. Ultra, it's going to affect your FPS a little bit during like the explosions and stuff. I have mine set to low. It's not going to look as pretty, but like I said, we're going to favor FPS here today. Ambient Occlusion's off. SSR, basically the screen reflection rate or whatever, the quality reflection, like water and basically everything like that. I have to set that to off. Nvidia low latency reflex. Now, this part of the settings, it's really personal preference on someone's computer. As you guys can see on the top right hand screen of my game, I'm getting around 60 to 63 FPS in the main menu. Now, if I were to turn this on, I'm automatically going to go back down to just a 60, if you guys can see on the very top. So I actually lose FPS when I turn it on, but certain people actually gain FPS if they turn it on. So it's just personal preference, depending on your computer or whatever, or you know, your hardware. Whenever I have it off, I actually gain 2 to 3 FPS with it off. So just keep in mind, you know, play around with it. All these settings is just playing around, seeing what your PC likes, what it doesn't like, and yeah. So depth of field off, motion war motion blur off, weapon motion blur off, film grain. I have it set to like sometimes 0 or at least a 10 to 20, but I think 0 works pretty well. But that's it for the quality section of this video. Moving on to the view section of this video. It's weird. There's been a lot of debate about this, but 120 FPS compared to like 110 FPS, you actually do gain more FPS the higher you raise your FOV in this game, and as well as Warzone. You guys didn't know that. Again, there's a lot of debate about that, whether you lose FPS, but I've noticed that if I'm set to like 110 or even 100 FOV, if I raise it up to 120, I'll gain at least 5 FPS. So I don't know, it's weird. Some days it does that, some days it doesn't. But yeah, so everything else is kind of just the same, to be honest with you. But that's basically it for this section of the video. Let's move on to the more juicier parts of this video, where I can show you guys how to change your word count and your VRAM usage in the game files. So I'll see you guys there in a second. Alrighty, so for this section of the video, you're actually going to your game files or whatever your files of your PC. You're gonna go to documents, wherever you have the game saved at, basically. Not saved, but where your documents go. So you're gonna go to documents, you're gonna go onto Call of Duty, you're gonna go to Players Beta, and you're gonna go to Options. Now, before you go into Options, I want you to click on this, right click on it, go to Properties, make sure Read Only is unchecked. Just for now. Make sure it's unchecked. You're gonna go back into here. Now here, you're gonna be greeted with shit ton of coding. The only thing we really care about is video memory scale and render worker count. So let's go for the first one. I have mine set to 0.9 or 0.09 or whatever you want to call it. Now I know some people like using 1.2, so that'll actually boost your FPS, but you'll have a higher chance of getting dev errors when you're playing the game. Now the sweet spot for me anyways is 0.9. I found that to be the best, you know, FPS gain, and I also don't crash like at all. So that's that section of the video, that part of the video, the video memory scale. Second part, now this is going to be a little bit more complicated. This is going to depend on your CPU. So let's open our task manager as well so we can see all of this. So first off, I closed the thing, I think. That's right here. Awesome. So first off, you want to make sure your render word count, the minimum that it goes to is going to be 4. So you want it set, so it all depends on your CPU cores. So if you go to Task Manager, you go to Performance, you click on your CPU, and you see your logical processors, and you see your cores. Now you see I have 8 cores. So half of 8 is 4, and 4 is the minimum, so you want to be at 4. Let's say you have 16 cores. Half of 16 is 8, so you want to make sure your core or your render word count is set to 8. Let's say you have, I don't know, 6 cores or whatever, you want to set your thing to 4, because 4 is always going to be the minimum. It's always going to be the lowest. So the lower it is, I guess, of divided wise anyways, the better. It's good. For some reason, I don't know why Call of Duty does this, but, or I don't know, games in general, some games do this. I don't know what game specifically, but they set your render word count to the however many cores you have, and that's actually using more of your CPU than it should be. So setting it to half of what you have already, it's going to let the other section or the other remaining cores to do other stuff while you're playing the game in terms of boosting your FPS. So make sure you have that set up, you know, make sure you have that all good and all that. Go to File, you want to make sure you press Save. And once you press Save, you close it, you close it out of your task manager. But before you close this actual file right here, the options or whatever area right here, you want to right click on it, you want to go to properties, you want to make sure you check read only. If you don't check read only, if you load up the game, it's going to reset your entire settings right there, and it's going to do the default. So when you put a read only, you apply it, you close it, you load up the game, it's going to save your settings that you applied. But that's basically it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out, and hopefully the FPS boost is nice for you guys. Let me know down in the comments below if it helps or not. If you guys do like this video though, please leave a like, maybe even a sub. I'd really appreciate it. If you guys are a sub, turn on the noti bell. If you guys do have the noti bell turned on, drop down below Noti Gang, and I'll give you guys a shout out on the next video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.